immigration. I'm trying to find those things that would set you apart from Senator Clegg.
Sure.
It appears to me that you both have very strong stances about immigration, illegal immigration.
I was going to say, I have a strong stance about illegal immigration, and that is that it's illegal. And we have to secure our border for national security reasons, as well as for reasons, of the cost of illegal immigration. We have to secure the border. We have to enforce the laws as they exist on the books today. And we have to take the time to completely reevaluate our immigration code as it stands today. It was written for early 1900s America. The United States has changed. Our businesses' needs have changed. Our position in the world has changed. We've got to go back and rewrite those standards.
It can't escape us between the Hillary Clinton, I have the experience, I'm ready day one, I'll take the call at 3 o'clock in the morning, no matter what Saturday Night Live says.
Right.
And, Barack Obama saying, I have the integrity, the intent, the motivation, maybe not as much experience. One cannot help but think of all those things in comparison to your candidacy in regards to someone like Mr. Clegg. So,
I'm saying
explanation.
I'm saying there are a lot of different types of experience that we can bring to the table. I'm saying that 20 years of insider political experience is not required to serve your community in Congress. And I go back to what we were talking about at the Rotary Club earlier today, that our founding fathers never intended.
Now, how do you know that? I mean,
because you go back and you look at the debates that they had. You go back and you look at there's a lot on record on how the debates
that you've studied.
That I've certainly read. I'm not an expert in it. And Ben Franklin, for example, fought vehemently that representatives to Congress should not be paid, that they should not receive a salary of any kind. So the idea behind the House of Representatives was always that it would be the closest link between government and the people, and that it would represent the people by reflecting the people.
And we certainly are the most, what's the third largest in the Western world House of Representatives in our own state.
Exactly. That's something that we embrace and really understand here in New Hampshire, I think better than they do in other parts of the country.
Only the independently wealthy or retired can afford to serve.
There's no question that financing a campaign is extremely difficult. And unlike some of the other folks in the race, I don't have a lot of personal money to just drop into it. But I think that what happens with the campaign is that over time, as people get to know you and they hear your message, the momentum builds. And the people come to it because it's the message that matters, not the money.
Moving on, I want to ask about the endorsement by former Senate President Tom Eaton. And knowing that, or do you know that the history of power struggle with Senator Clegg and Gatsis, and I have to ask, did you seek his endorsement or did he call and give it to you?
Well, I have to tell you.
Who solicited who?
You know what? I'll tell you the truth. I was not fully in the know on the deal with all of that. That was a few years back, and I didn't really know it all. I have seen Tom at a number of events over the years, and we really met. Personally, were introduced to one another when I was considering running at a social event, at a Republican social event. And it just became a matter of, conversation over time. I sought his advice on a few important issues, and he sought me out to talk about where did I stand on issues and how did I see this working. And it just sort of came together. It really wasn't me soliciting him or him coming to me to say, I want to see if you're the one. It was just kind of developed.
The reason I
have a lot of respect for Tom Eaton. He is somebody who truly has a heart for New Hampshire, and I really respect what he has done for the state.
The reason I asked is some of in the political circles are saying that you're being used like a pawn to retaliate against Bob Clegg.
Right. Do you care? I mean,
do you care is the question.
Here's what I don't care about. I don't care what people inside political circles say. I don't care what the insider politicking, chatting is. The danger I think that politicians get into is they allow themselves to believe that this tight little political world they live in is the real world. It's not. The real world is the rest of us out here who are trying to pay our mortgages and trying to heat our homes and saving to send our children to school and worrying about, whether or not we're going to be able to afford the largest tax increase in history that Congress has just proposed, and getting really angry and frustrated when we see Congress go on vacation without finishing the work of the people. That's the real world.
Jennifer, last question for you. Following your column for many years in the Telegraph, knowing your radio presence, I know that first and foremost, you love your number one job, and that is of mother.
Yes.
So I'm trying to get my arms around you winning the primary, winning the election, and moving to Washington. Is there any trepidation about that?
Well, sure there is. My children and my husband, my family was my primary concern when I considered this. And even with the radio and the column, I've always considered myself a stay-at-home mom right up until we announced in January, because nothing else I ever did got in the way of the time I was with my children. So it is absolutely a concern to me. But I reached a point in the consideration of all of this where it occurred to me that my husband and I had spent a lot of time kind of preparing our children to be in this world, to be responsible, compassionate, giving citizens. And here was an opportunity for me to sort of prepare the world a little bit for our children. And I thought, what sort of an example do I set for them if I have the chance to try to do something good and I pass on it? As far as moving to Washington, I have no intention of moving to Washington. Clearly, I'm going to have some place where I can sleep in Washington when I'm there. But one thing that I will never forget and that I will never lose, and my children are a big part of it, but my neighbors and my community are as well, is that I am a resident of New Hampshire. My roots are here at home, and this is where I belong, and this is where I will be as often as humanly possible.
This will not be our last interview. There'll be many in the future, I'm sure. I look forward to perhaps a debate here on TV 13 with the finalists for this 2nd Congressional District. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. I appreciate it.
And thank you for watching this edition of 142 Main.